Hi, everyone. My name is Madelyn Gardner. I am the PR and External Comms Manager at Jazz Lincoln Center. And thank you for joining us for another episode of Jazz Intersections. This is our fourth episode, I'm pretty sure. And this is our new weekly IG Live show where we interview everyone from all walks of life, including activists, artists, mathematicians, you name it. We want to talk to them. Today, I am delighted to introduce today's special guest, Pulitzer Prize and Grammy Award winner, and of course, Jazz Lincoln Center's own managing and artistic director. Today, Wynton Marsalis will be joining me to talk all about his latest composition, the Ever Fonky Lowdown, available exclusively on digital platforms today and features Jazz Lincoln Center Orchestra with Wynton Marsalis, vocalist Camille Thurman, Ashley Pizzatti, Christy Dashell, Doug Wamble, and also features narration from the acclaimed actor Wendell Pierce. So I'm going to stop talking and I'm going to bring in Wynton Marsalis. We want to maybe do some clap emojis, make Wynton feel nice and welcomed.
All right now.
Hey, Wynton, how's it going?
What's going on, Maddie?
It's so
It's
great
been,
to see you. I've missed our weekly chats.
come on. It's been a while, but it's great to see you.
Great to see you. Happy release day of this incredible composition. You must be so excited that it's out into the world.
Well, yeah, thank you very much. If all of us, I can't wait to get all of our music out. We have so many recordings that we've done over the years with orchestra members, and this is the latest one to come out. And yes, it's a good time for it to come out, even though we planned for it to come out earlier, but
Right.
as things would be, it came out now.
Well, and I wanted to say so this composition directly addresses the destructive use of deception, racism, greed, gullibility to undermine the global struggle for human rights and to corrupt possibilities and promise of democracy, which you talk about often, democracy, how important that is. And of course, it includes a message of hope, which you talk about a lot. And I think the whole Jazz Lincoln Center organization talks about, be the person you want to be so you can make the world the way you want to see the world. Now, even though it's kind of spotlighting coming out during the COVID-19 pandemic, it was written in 2018. So if you can maybe talk about the whole process of what it was like to write the piece, to perform the piece, to what it was like to record the piece.
Well, a lot of it comes from conversations that I had with my little brother, Ellis. And we talked for many years. And we call him the Oracle because he's always reading and researching things. And he's not like my father, Ellis. He has the same name. But we're always talking about power and what people did in history and what this means in the Constitution. So I started to just take notes when he would talk about things. And I thought about what if we could turn this into a thing that's like a game. And this game is how people have been hustled throughout history. And why is it that we continue to make the same mistakes? So then I started to study a lot of different leaders, went back to Julius Caesar, studied Adolf Hitler, studied kind of conquering leaders that convinced people to do something that's not in their best interest. And what are the things that they told people? Use for all the American presidents that I have known in my lifetime. And I use only examples from what I've seen. And I combined it with evangelical preachers like Reverend Ike and Oral Roberts and Jimmy Swaggart. I put everybody together and came up with a profile of 7 objectives that a person who wants to get a large group of people to act against their self-interest, what do you have to do? So that's the first part of the game, the Ever Fonky Lowdown. Then the second part, you get 5 prizes because you were successful doing what that leader or that group wanted you to do. And those prizes are all things that we see today, every day in the United States. There's not anything abstract about it. It's not. And so that's what you won. As a result of you fulfilling these 7 objectives, you win these 5 prizes. But between the 4th and the 5th prize, the host is a man named Mr. Game. He's so disappointed that you've fallen victim yet again, another civilization, another people, another time, to these 7 steps. He gives you a wild card. And that wild card comes and preaches against everything he represents. And you reject that wild card. And he gives you your last prize. And then that's the end of the Ever Fonky Lowdown. Then there's a little code in it where the people have to determine what they're going to do.
And could you speak a bit about the recording process too? Because it's a very interesting recording process of the album.
Well, it was in our hall at a VLS studio. It was we don't really make a lot of recordings there. I
Mm-hmm.
think we did Ted Nash's presidential suite there. And our crew came, our stage crew came to set up an unbelievable booth system for us because we have three fantastic singers that sang with us, Camille and Christy and Ashley. They did an unbelievable job. And our crew set up the booth. It was, it's just how we all worked together. And we came in, we had to smile. It looked like a lot of energy put into it. Our engineer and also co-producer Ty Whitelock was there. And he had an elaborate system. Carlos was standing in the back with his amplifier. He knows I don't like those amps. So we still were laughing about it yesterday. And Doug Wambo was there. And we had a big setup. And we actually recorded almost everything in 3 sessions. So three-hour sessions. We finished early because there were so many music cues. But at this point, the orchestra is so committed, and we've been recording for such a long time. And the music is very difficult. They did a great job. We had a few little overdubs after. Normally, we don't really overdub anything. There are some parts we had percussion parts, and we got different musicians in. And Wendell came in later after we had done all the tracks and did his narration. And that took him about 7 or 8 hours, but he went straight through.
And so you bring up one who plays Mr. Game as the narrator. Can you speak? You've known Wendell for quite a bit. Maybe speak on your relationship with him. Why was he so fitting for this part? Because I mean, he does an incredible job.
Well, I first met Wendell in 1977 when I was a junior in high school, and he was a freshman at Benjamin Franklin Senior High. And then we went to the New Orleans Center for Creative Arts together. Wendell had to wait to be a sophomore to go to the arts high school. And at that time, we had a tradition of excellence in musicians. So Moses Hogan was an unbelievable pianist that was older than all of us, and he had gotten a full scholarship to Oberlin, and he would go on to become the nation's leading arranger of Negro spirituals. Moses has passed away. But he started us on that path of excellence. Like, you got to practice, you got to be serious, you got to do this. And then after him was a flautist named Kent Jordan, who got a full scholarship to Eastman Conservatory. And we're from New Orleans, so that was like a big deal for us. And Kent, I saw him practicing all the time. He's the one actually who made me start practicing because I could see how serious he was. And one time I would be teasing him about playing flute. He took me out in the yard and beat me in a game of basketball. I said, man, this dude can play ball as good. And look, I was playing ball at that time. I was actually on teams. And that made me really start practicing my trumpet. And then in my class was my brother Branford, Terrence Blanchard, I think, was a year younger than us, Donald Harrison, all fantastic musicians. So we had a kind of tradition, and we would brag on ourselves and call us the big boys. We all this kind of stuff we do high school stuff, type stuff. And then Wendell came in, and he was in theater, and he was in drama. And I think we called it theater then. And he was determined to uphold that same tradition of studying and excellence and of being soulful at the same time. So we always loved him. We would tease him and say, man, you're not ready to be a big boy yet. But, down through the years, then he came to Juilliard, and that program is so difficult to get in. Mm-hmm. And we're so proud of him. When he came to Juilliard later, in the entire time, he actually narrated a Mingus piece on my brother Branford's first record. The record was called Scenes in the City, and Wendell is a narrator, and that was recorded in 1984. So we go back a long way. And we're brothers. It's hard to even explain the depth of kind of feeling and love that we have for each other. When his mother died, I was playing in New Orleans, and he came up and we second line, and the kind of feeling, the embrace of what goes on when life altering things happen. And then when my mother passed away, he flew from where he was to our summer camp in Bard, and we poured a libation in the intermission of a concert, and he flew back where he was. So this for us is more than it's not like a project or something to do. It's a way of life. And the way he did his part and the way he recorded and the seriousness that he approached it. Even one of our younger staff members looked at me because after 5 or 6 hours, I was like, yeah, when do we got it? He was like, no, man, we don't have it. We're going to do this till it's the way that it needs to be. And just to see that same thing we had in high school, that we had got from Moses and we got from Ken of how you have to be serious a certain way. And yeah, so, Wendell, I have so much respect for his artistry. I came over here to see him in Death of a Salesman here in London, and he set the town on fire. And just his genius and his dedication and his But also an additional thing about him is his belief in community and in people and in the democratic process and his willingness to speak out and be for real about it. And yeah, I love him.
That's such a a great trait when you're involved in a project like this, that it's about being for real. And especially how interesting the Mr. Game, the character of Mr. Game.
Right, right.
And that we've had so many discussions about, especially, like in the beginning, you think this composition is one way, like, oh, it's this message. And it turns around and you're like, oh, wait, this
Right.
isn't.
You're right. You think it's about Republicans and Democrats and all of that. And it's not. It's saying y'all are all stupid. And I'm playing a game on all of y'all. Green is my game and power. And if I see a fault line between y'all and I can ride that fault line and keep y'all fighting with each other while I clean up all this green and maintain a power over you, I'm not only am I willing to do it, I'm good at doing it. And I'm successful. And you fall for this century after century, culture after culture, civilization after civilization, and you falling for it now. And that's who Mr. Game is. He says it. And it's written. Everything is really written into his language. And the music is very happy. And it touches on all the kind of things. I waited all this time because I actually grew up playing in the funk tradition. But I've never really written music in that style because I was always so concerned about, let's not just let jazz go. Just because, we like playing the funk and all of this fun. But jazz is important too. And I went back to that language that I actually played all through high school. And I put the swing rhythm on top of it and used the kind of lines and melodies that my father and James Black, who's a great New Orleans drummer and composer, who also is deceased, but he had a characteristic way of writing and playing. Herlin Riley's uncle, Melvin Lastly, played the trumpet in a certain style, kind of soul trumpet. Cannonball and Nat Adderley also played in that style. There's actually a recording called In the Bag with my father and them playing with Cannonball when they're young in their early 20s.
And so it seems that there's a ton of musical influence behind the writing behind. Is there? So you mentioned some. Is there any other bigger pieces that influenced you, or any other ones, musical influences behind the writing?
Yeah, it's just the things that I know and have worked with and grew up with in combination, the things that are unusual. It's like whenever you try to birth something that's new, you put things together. Like you're the result of your mother and father. Right. It's not. You're the orchestration of them. So, and you naturally you're going to be different because you're a combination that's never existed. And many of these things, like how to use a 6/8 march and voice it, and then to use the funk with this kind of modern jazz, put the swing on top of it, to use this type of rhythm in this way, and how to put the funk in different time signatures and use some things maybe I heard it in some Brazilian music or something I heard. Just put things together, and then when you add the orchestra, and everybody is adding stuff like Carlos is saying, let's do this right here, or my brother Jason was playing drums, or he'd say Zigaboo would play this groove like this, or let's do that. We all are working together a certain way on each other's music.
And it is a very funky album, but I heard this morning too when Gayle King was talking about the album, funky or funky? So what was that? Yeah, funk.
In New Orleans, that's how we say they funky, yeah, bro. We be talking about a band, man, you think they funkier than us? They funky, yeah, bro. They funk, I think. We always had battles of the band. In the 70s, we'd always have battles of the bands. We had a big top of a department store called Gaylord's. And 3 bands were set up on different walls. It'd be packed with people. And we would play a battle. And sometimes they'd go till 1, 2 in the morning. And the dancers would choose whose band was the best. So a couple of times we got our hair cut by a band called Cool Enterprise. So Cool Enterprise would jump on us and they'd be like, man, you think they cut our head? Yeah, they funky, yeah, bro. So that's our New Orleans thing. That's
great. And I want to go back a little bit to talking about some of the really great characters in the composition. And one of them is influenced by the great Fannie Lou Hamer. So in the Ballad of Fannie Lou Hamer, it's a tribute to, if those tuning in don't know who she is, she's an incredibly important figure in the civil rights movement and some incredible activist. And the anniversary of her speaking at the convention is actually this Saturday. And she's the inspiration behind the character, the Rebel. So if you can speak a bit about her and how she influenced you to write that.
Well, my mama loved Fannie Lou. So, I go more than the civil rights movement. I was a kid. So 64, I was 3 years old. But then the spirit of that age, like then when I came into consciousness, like 5, 6, 7, I was always very aware of the movement. And my parents were very conscious. My mom was really especially conscious. And she was always, oh, she loved Fannie Lou. She'd talk about all the things Fannie Lou died. And, you know, Fannie Lou died in 1977. And that's actually a year that I met Wendell in. And Fannie Lou was probably the most for real figure in the civil rights movement because she actually picked cotton. She actually was a sharecropper. She actually was from rural Mississippi. She actually was straight up from the whole kind of slave mentality. And she led voting drives. She co-founded the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party. She spoke at the Democratic National. She spoke before a televised audience at the convention. She was fighting against the racism. She formed Freedom Farm to get people having good health and family services and help in burgeoning business organizations. I'm from a kind of, you know, Louisiana country. I didn't grow up in New Orleans. I was a kid in Kenner, Louisiana, Breaux Bridge, Louisiana, Little Farms, Louisiana. And these kind of community figures existed, which Fannie Lou would be that to the nth degree. And she suffered trying to get people to vote. They beat her up and did all kind of stuff you wouldn't do to a woman of her age and dignity. And she bore all the indignities. She was shot at. She was this. She was that. And she kept going forward. And constant threats of death. Nothing deterred her from her work. So she's what I consider to be the ultimate hero. She unsuccessfully ran for Congress from Mississippi. And on her tombstone in Ruleville, Mississippi, is inscribed her famous quote, "I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired." She's a very powerful speaker. The depth of whatever authentic means, she is that. And she's coming from a much longer distance than the other civil rights leaders, many of whom come from a certain type of educated families. And actually, Dr. King's father was a preacher and intellectual. He was taught by Benjamin Mays, and he was in a whole kind of tradition of scholarship. Fannie Lou came straight from the cotton sack. And I always when I think about the civil rights movement, you know, I always think about her and her belief in action, and that she was not a person who was dream oriented. She was job oriented, and she was voting. I mean, I don't know. I'm gonna talk too much about her, but she's an unbelievably heavy figure in American history.
I don't think you're talking too much about her at all. I mean, I think what's so interesting too is her, and along with a lot of themes in this composition are, I don't want to say unfortunate, but still so relevant today. And it's about people, voting, and not just that, but it's a bigger picture. Not even just people who live in the United States can relate to it.
That's right.
It's a global thing.
Well, yeah, that's what Mr. Game says. You know, this is an international hustle. We're all fighting to come together, but the people who are making the most out of exploiting our ignorance, and sometimes we get confused because we think it's a person with money. A person can make money and not be corrupt. It's a general corruption that exists in the corruption exists in things. Just look around. That's what Mr. Game is always saying. Look around. Look at it. Because we like to look away from it. Just look at it and keep looking at it. And it's going to come. It's one of my daddy's big things. He would always say, "Hey, bro, can you see? Open your eyes, man. Look at it." And he would always ask you, "Well, what do you think about it?" And he'd make you answer him, "Well, what do you think about it? Did you see this or that?" So for us, we need to, just for us to become more acute about what's going on, our acuity, and to be able to not be victimized by all these Mr. Games that are out here. Because there's a lot of Mr. Games out here running games, spitting game. It's going on right now. It's unbelievable, really.
Oh, for sure.
How blatant it all is. And I ain't just talking about the president. That's just obvious. I'm talking about whether it don't matter where you look, you're gonna see it. It's a general corruption we need to all start to fight against and be for real about.
For sure. And I mean, it's interesting because the world's been on fire for quite a bit, but it's where everyone's kind of seeing it now with the state of the world, the pandemic.
Yeah. But we need to get on it. Like we all need to fight it. There's no one person. There's no one solution. It's like trash. Everybody got to pick it up. It's it's not going to be, we're going to go to this. The technology is going to save us, or the technology is going to make it worse.
Hmm.
because it's going to enable even fewer people. So we have to all be a part of the change, not against the technology. The technology is going to be fantastic, helping us.
Hmm.
But we have to be active participants in the world we want to see. We can't just abdicate our responsibility. And that goes to me too. I've abdicated a lot of responsibility through this year. So down through these years and done a lot of stuff that was, questionable. So I'm not pointing my fingers at people like I'm above this issue.
Mm.
We're all a part of it. And it's going to take a deep collective to correct it. And if it ever gets corrected, but at least to fight and make the kind of battle for balance be, I mean, now we're losing. Whoever is on the side of collective creativity and people of the world coming together and not allowing these divisions to keep us from seeing the actual grandeur and glory of a mass participation and an elevation. And then we all have to fight against corruption and see how that corruption ruins the quality of our lives. If anything is keeping us from that, we need to look at it. Because, we'll waste a lot of time looking at somebody else who we don't even know. They're not the reason that this is a problem.
And for those that are just tuning in, we're talking all things the Ever Fonky Lowdown, which is released via Blue Engine Records, which is Jazz Lincoln Center's in-house record label, featuring the Jazz Lincoln Center Orchestra, Wynton Marsalis, and a slew of amazing vocalists and special guests. And I did see, if you want to, we have about 10 minutes left. Anyone have any questions about the album or for Wynton, please go ahead and ask. I did see one question that said, any chance of bringing the Ever Fonky to Broadway?
I don't think they I don't think they want the Ever Fonky on Broadway.
No, I think that's interesting though, because it's very much, I'm a really big fan of theater, and the first time I heard it and I read it, I just was like, this is very cool. It's very theatrical.
I could be wrong. I don't think so. I don't think so. But hey, you never know. Maybe. I don't see it.
You never know though. So if you're a Broadway producer that's tuning in right now, please reach out. Let us know. But you can. It's available. It's available digitally, exclusively online right now. You can stream it from anywhere. And once again, if you want to ask any questions here in the comments, what do we see? Let's see one right here. It says, "Would you tour the album when it's safe to?"
Sure. We'll go around and play the music. Certainly, we'd be happy to play it. I mean, we've been touring for 40 years. A lot of the observations from it come from that experience of actually touring around the country and knowing people in all of the states, people from all kinds of economic backgrounds and races and genders. And I stay after every gig and talk to people. So it's been 40 years of meeting people and families and hearing kids play and participating in people's lives on many levels. I would love to play it. And the response we got when we played it was, lukewarm, like, what is this guy talking about? Because it's not tribal. It's not a tribal narrative. And if you want to be tribal, that's not where I'm coming from.
And you bring up an interesting point too. You said, you obviously you've been touring forever, and with the JLCO, when you're touring a specific piece, and you get this reception from the audience, did you ever change anything later on, or is the composition once the composition's done? Yeah,
I always question everything. I trust the audience more than anything, because I'm trying to not pander to the audience, and I'm not trying to just follow the audience. But I don't want to feel like I'm subjecting them to something, because I do want to communicate with them, and I want to enrich people's feeling and entertain them and have an understanding. And it's symbiotic. It's a communication. And all of us in the band, in the orchestra, we're always doing that with each other and with each other's music also. Like we play something and we know it doesn't have an effect, and we'll talk to each other. Man, maybe you should change this part. I think the ending is not good, or how you gonna solve this problem. And we're very frank when we talk to each other, and we make changes. So yeah, I go off of the people. But in this instance, I didn't go because it was in New York, and in the beginning, people thought I was parodying Donald Trump. And then when you get to the second half, you realize it's not about Donald Trump. It's about the United States of America and the type of things that we have done to each other, regardless of party, North or South. I left the South. I couldn't wait to get out of the South to get to the North. I got here. I was like, okay, it's just another hustle up here, a different way. And the things that Mr. Game gives you as your prizes, all you got to do is look around. You see it. It's everywhere. The type of segregation he talks about, that's not just the South. You know, primetime pornography. He's telling you what it is. He's just look around. There it is. Because sometimes, you know, you start to decline and you don't notice it because it's gradual. You lose a grip on reality. We can do that. It can be with our health, with our mental health, with our weight, with any of our habits. It's easy. And I mean our, not you or any of us, me, you. You know, sometimes you could get lost. And many times you get lost very gradually. You don't notice it. You don't notice it. Then all of a sudden, man, I'm lost.
That's what would you suggest when you realize you are lost in it? What's the next step?
Go home. Go home. You got to go home.
Great advice. Only thing to do.
You got to go home. Find the fundamentals.
I just saw another great question from Miss Chloe Fogel herself. She said she loved, we're one of the best. She's an amazing video editor. A lot of the videos you see from Jazz Lincoln Center, she's editing them. She wants to know more about the singing on the album. She loves the harmonies.
You know, the voicings are a lot different from normally because I got them voiced in fourths. And if you're in the second and third part, Christy's part, and Camille has perfect pitch. So, you know, she's in the middle. And those harmonies are very difficult to sing. They sound, they're not, sometimes they're triadic, but sometimes it's like an augmented fourth and a fourth. It's an interesting kind of musical sound. I don't want to get too theoretical, but they did such a fantastic job. And the respect we all have for them when we finished that recording, because they're singing it live too. And just Ashley took her job. She's singing the top part. She was so serious about it. And she has so much talent, and also all of them, the intelligence and the depth that they brought to stuff, and the willingness to study and learn all those difficult parts in different styles. You know, I mean, I got full thinking about them when we finished the session. I knew they had given a lot, and that it was unusual and special, and that it would be. And then when we heard it, when I started to hear it on the recording, I can just I called Ashley the other night to thank her. I got to call Christy and Camille after we finished mixing, getting everything together. Yeah, they were unbelievable. Plus, just the consciousness and the intelligence and the dedication that they showed to it, and the care that they took with everything. Yeah.
You really feel it when you hear them sing. It's not just beautiful; it's you feel it. It's like, right. Oof! It
yeah, they were for real.
Yeah.
Yeah, for real. All those Ever Fonky Lowdowns are hard. Like the one at 7, knowing when they come in on that, or they got another one that you have to count in the lower 4 time. I saw somebody said something about Afro-Latin music. Yeah, we got some things in that. We're gonna do more with Afro-Latin music. I love the music. I'm always talking with Carlos about what we can do, and I love that community of musicians and the music. And we always need to get better and bring more musicians from that tradition into what we're doing, and bring our traditions together, because they are together.
And you mentioned in 7, and anyone that knows you knows the number 7 is very important to you. Can you speak a bit about that?
Well, it's just a mystical number, you know, and it's also the 7 days of the week. That's what Mr. Game has 7 objectives. And the last Ever Fonky Lowdown, the most extension, when I really get you out there, I put you in 7. Once I got you in 7, you know, you're in trouble then. I got you out there in this deep water. And yeah, I like those kind of numbers, 7, 5, 12, the golden section. I'm always dealing with like kind of mathematical. I like mathematical concepts. I wish I was better on the blackboard, but I love the concepts.
Well, you can hear it in all the music that you've ever written, and specifically in this piece. We're wrapped before we wrap things up, and I give it back to Wynton here to finish things off. Everyone tuning in, thank you so much for watching, and just we hope you will all go stream the Ever Fonky Lowdown. Go get funky. It's incredible.
Talk about it.
It's incredible. Thank you so much, Wynton. Is there anything else you want to say to the people tuning in?
Yeah, I want to thank my man Bobby Allende too, who came and put that sauce on that 6 for me. You know, I love him. It's my brother from another mother. Him and Mark Keonis and all. You know, just our music is a circle. So I feel like yeah, the Ever Fonky. It's interesting that it came out in this time. I want to throw it out to my man Todd Whitelock, who's our engineer and co-producer, and say that we delayed the record because Todd's father passed away in this time. And we were saying to each other, man, you know, both our fathers passed away in the same time. And when we knew each other, we both had hair. So You know, we dedicated to the cause. We about it.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Wynton. Head to jazz.org/everfunky to go check out, check out our website. We have lots of fun things going on, but I really hope you'll stream. This is incredible work. So thank you so much for taking the time to come chat with me today, Wynton.
Hey, it's great to see you. I don't see you now enough, but we'll start again in the fall, Maddie. It's great to see you.
I love it.
Thank you.
So great to see you too.
All right.
Have a good
Yeah,
one.
right. All right now. Take care. All right, y'all. Yeah, you're right.